I can't believe that you all have come, to this event. How much fun, how much better could you spend the morning just for an hour and think about it? And I have nothing new to say really, only to set up the idea, because we have this amazing panel afterwards, and all of you. But the idea of thinking about a new model of branding is really an important one. To me, this is really, I've done this for 20 some years. In the 90s, I consulted to Harley Davidson. And Harley told us in Milwaukee that there's a problem, they have the product itself. The bike isn't really of quality. So they came, and I was a professor at the time, says, so what can we do? I go like, not much. You need a quality product, start right there. And then we said, but guys, you guys have a really strange personality. And they said like, so what do you mean? I go like, why don't you brand your personality? And that's how the Harley experience started. And we built that brand building model back then. And I want to now talk about, so there is this one world, and I call this the world we lived in. Now it moves. I call it the world of walls. The existing brand building models, how we build brand, whether you build brands through love branding or experiences or emotions or whatever, it is still brand building models that are built for a world of walls. That means a world of walls where you say, I have a category, hello, Debbie, is a friend of mine right there in the back. There is a set of competitors, 3 German car companies, BMW, Mercedes, and Audi. And you say, how do I differentiate? More or less the cars are identical cars. They have the same suppliers, they have the same engineers, they're all Germans for that matter, and on and on and on and on. But of course, there is the ultimate driving machine. And so in the old days, or in the classic branding, this world of walls, you have a set of defined competitors that you compare yourself to, and then you decide how you differentiate. That's what I call a world of walls. And I don't think we anymore live in a world of walls. I think we live in a world of webs. There is a social web, there is Facebook, there is private, there is an internet, there is a mobile net, there is they call it now IoT, Internet of Things, which are basically lots of networks. There is SLH. Where is François? Jean-François. SLH is one of the guests here. Is an amazing, highly curated, top of the game luxury network of 520 hotels plus more, something like that. It's another network. So my thinking is very simple for the whole day. Instead of assuming that we compete in a very sort of like narrow set of 2 or 3 competitors. We live in a world of webs, and we need to leverage that web. If you think about how branding used to be basically a strategic way, a very powerful way to insulate to basically erect a wall, to create some sort of some sort of veneer of differentiation. It's not just the car, it's the ultimate driving machine. It isn't just Andrex. It isn't just toilet paper, it's Andrex toilet paper. It isn't just X, or a Lynx you call it. It's a very different sort of thing for men, I guess. And this, in my opinion, the branding is changing from this world from this trying to create or carve out this veneer of sort of differentiation of emotionality, let's say, to facilitating connections. So the role of branding in this new brand building model, in my opinion, is changing. It's facilitating interaction. It's creating connections and exchange. I'll explain this a bit. So I have been around for a long, long time. So I start here. In the very old days, branding used to be what I call the era of logic. Basically, what you have is you identify a particular product, a particular need. let's say, coffee should be of quality, and you'd attach a tagline. Folger says, good to the last drop. You know, that was like the Mad Men world. You remember the Mad Men world? You know, there's 2 or 3 guys, they huddle in a room over the weekend. I think that's at least the show says it like that. They go like, they came up with a tagline, or they come up with some game, you know, some mascot or something, and then they brand it. That used to be what I call the era of logic. And two glass martinis or 3 glass martinis sort of sold the damn thing. But this is what I call the era of logic. Then these things got a little bit more difficult. I mean, you know, in a way, you know, Andrex is a good example here in the UK. You know, if you want to sell toilet paper, if you want to show that it is strong, long, and lasting, you know, show a short video with a little boy in the loo, on the loo, right? That's how you call it here in the UK. And a Labrador puppy, you know, that goes in, grabs the toilet paper, you know, runs through the entire house. I think that's how I remember the thing. Runs through the entire house, and then at some point in time at the end, the little child says, "Mom, can you fetch me, or can you get me toilet paper?" It shows it's strong, it's long, it's lasting, it's emotional, and that's why you buy Andrex and you pay a little bit more for it. That's what I call the era of emotion. Emotional branding or something. Sometimes they called it love branding. And then from that we went into another era, and the third era was this era of what I call the era of experience. Experience marketing. You know, Starbucks isn't just a coffee. Remember, Starbucks used to say it is the third place. It's the experience. It's between home and work. If you can't stand it at home and you can't stand it at work, you know, that was the third place. You know, at home you have whatever. We'll not talk about that. So that was the third. But that, you know, these are, if you look at this, these are sort of like just iterations of the same brand building model. Up to here is a branding of a world of walls, in my opinion. Up to here is just another sliver, another way, another veneer of trying to find differentiation. They're all very valid. And you know, if we can use them, we do use these branding models. I want to talk about this other model, that what I call the era of exponentiality. You know, era of exponentiality is when you leverage networks, and networks of people, let's say. What the amazing thing about networks is that networks multiply actually exponentially. Everybody talks to everybody. That's why Facebook took off. When you think about, if you think of Tesla, a car company, we have here Hyundai, knows very well about that area. When you drive a Tesla off the parking lot, if you will, or if you drive any moment a Tesla, every owner of Tesla contributes, in a way, the entire network of Tesla owners contributes to one thing, namely the autopilot. There are more sensors on a Tesla car than on any other car, and those sensors are added up into a data repository in order to make the car more more autonomous. Doesn't get there yet, not for a while, but it makes the car supposed to be safer. It's kind of a very different brand building model. If you look at this model over here, you are sort of like you are sort of a recipient. You are sort of the target of a message, whether it is emotional, whether it's an experience, or it is just some branding device like a slogan, just do it. When you talk about the new world of branding, the consumer is actually, like with Tesla, almost part of the value. You know, the product is not just the car. The product is also the safe car. Actually, we as consumers are contributors making a value. I give a good example. Oh, I wanted to show you this. Now, no, back one. Here's the thing. Now, if 10 years ago, if I would have said, if you had $100 or $1,000 or $1 million, it doesn't matter. If you look today and you say, where would you have best put your money 10 years ago, 2009, let's say. You know, if you look today, everybody will tell you, oh, I would have bought Apple stock, you know, it went like that. Or I would have bought Facebook stock, or I would have bought Amazon stock, or I would have bought Netflix stock, right? Everybody, because those, it's called FANGAs, F-A, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and so forth, FANGA, Google as well. Those are the stocks worldwide have made enormously wealthy, obnoxious people. You know, it's true. You know, they all go like, and I retired with 30. Look, here's how you retire with 30. Yeah, thank you very much. You know, I'm twice that age. I'm still not thinking about it. You know, get a life, man. I did this actually on one of the social networks. I actually said, like, you know, why do you need, you know, like waste your life? You know, why are you wasting your life at the age of 30 plus? Whatever. Anyway, but it's the truth. You know, like, here's the thing. What got me excited about this thing is, you know, if there's one stock you should have bought, which isn't Facebook, which isn't Google, which isn't Apple, which isn't any of these technology sort of like, which isn't any one of these unicorns. The stock is actually a pizza stock. It's called Domino's Pizza. Do you know that Domino's Pizza has become more valuable than any other stock or any other company in the world, except for Netflix? It's really true, believe it or not. Look at this. This is the Netflix appreciation. These are the rest of this. All the others sort of like loom around down here somewhere. And I thought, like, how is that possible? Pizza. You know, remember, you know, I was thinking about that. Anybody remember, if you're old enough, remember that movie, The Graduate? There is this Dustin Hoffman is on that party. And he sort of like has this older man there with glasses. The older man stand there, and the older man gives advice to this younger Dustin Hoffman who just graduated, and says like, son, you know, do you know what business you should be in the 60s it was, right? And he said what? Plastics. You should be in plastics. So if I were to think about now 10 years ago, and you would stand next to me, I'm the older guy, you know, with the glasses, and you ask me, you know, so where do you think, what should I go into? I would say, pizza. Isn't that good? I thought it's kind of funny. Anyway, let me explain you how they did it. And how this brand building model works. You know, it's how they facilitate interaction, how they think about, you know, creating this exponentiality and changing expectations. Everybody knows, so pizza, you know, pizza 10 years ago was actually a bad pizza. It's called cardboard pizza in America. It was not quality. So one thing they had to do, they actually had to fix their quality. But the one thing that they always were, and this is sort of like in the 70s already, or in the 80s when I went to college. In those days, they always were about this 30-minute pizza. You know, you get, the deal was if the pizza wasn't never any good. You know, it deteriorated over the years. But it was this one thing at the college level. You know, you appreciate volume over the quality, I guess. But it was like this 30 minutes. The one deal there was, which is sort of error of logic branding, 30 minutes or it is free. That was sort of like the deal. The pizza was 30 minutes and free. And when I was living in the dormitory, we played hide and seek with every delivery guy, you know. In the movie, we ordered the pizza and then we were hiding all over the dormitory. And then we showed up and we go like, past 30 minutes, it's free. So anyway, that was sort of the old day, the trick. But they did that period. The next thing they did is, you know, it's like typical thing, you know, like how do you create some emotionality? In America, basketball is very important. NCAA is very important. So we attach ourselves to some major event, in this case, the NCAA, the North America Athletic Association, you know, March Madness, are these big tournaments every March about the basketball, college basketball. They all become this professional basketball player sometimes. You attach to that, you sell a lot of pizza. So that's a typical branding thing. You know, if you can't do any better, you know, you attach yourself to something and you know, borrow some equity, you know, and create some relevant differentiation from Pizza Hut. Oh, by the way, it's not only the stock price that increased that much. They became the #1 pizza in America last year, actually. More than Pizza Hut, more than any other pizza, literally. So it's kind of like a real great success story. Then what they did is they said like, okay, you know, like things are changing, you know, people are buying online, and so we need to have an online presence. And so you know, the problem here in people's life is, you know, I don't want any more sort of click through on my computer. I just want to buy via mobile online and get delivery, or don't want to call it in anymore. Did that too. And so when you look at how they did the branding, yeah, they created a better experience of how to get your pizza. Here's what they are doing now. This is, I mean, you know what has happened in the last several years. You can get a pizza from Domino's. I mean, it's always the same pizza, more or less, but you can get them in any way you want them. You know, I'm in front of my TV. I go like, pizza. TV recognizes it, pizza comes. There is literally, I go like, Alexa, pizza. She goes like, yes, sir, pizza. Yeah. Pizza delivered. There's even it's called clickless ordering. There's clickless ordering. All I do is I open the app. I don't do any clicks on it, and automatically the pizza comes. It's literally. And it's the same thing. And now there's a GPS attached to that. So like in the old days, I did hide and seek in the college dormitory. Now, actually, I can see the guy approaching. You know, he's now in the elevator. He's coming upstairs. You know, it's very cool. There is a pizza drones. They're flying. You know, they're flying into your garden party. There is an autonomous pizza. There's actually a vehicle in Detroit. It's a Ford vehicle that autonomously delivers pizza. Actually, there's a pizza oven. It's a car that is converted into an oven. So it drives automatically. It's driverless. It drives up. All you have to do is open up the thing. It's an oven, and you actually take the fresh pizza out. You know, like so what happens is what I call increasing the share of life, real integration. They are totally, utterly integrated in people's life. Do you know what the latest thing is? Just now launched last week. There's an AI thing, you know, ML, machine learning thing. What you do is any pizza you eat, any pizza, Pizza Hut or anything which your wife does or your husband does for you at home, you with your iPhone, you go over it, you make a picture of it, it recognizes that you have a pizza based on this AI and ML, machine learning thing, and recognizes it, you get 10 points. If you have 60 points, you get a free pizza from Pizza Hut, from Domino's Pizza. Even if you buy competitor pizza. You know why this is so cool? It's because they capture all your pizza consumption, whether you are a Domino's Pizza user or not. And they know exactly that you eat 4 pizzas a month, and I know exactly when you eat them, and they know exactly how to market toward you. So they almost like build a network of pizza people, you know? And I think it's so cool because it changes the way you brand. And you know this, you know, you say like, okay, now ML, I heard this, machine learning and AI, I heard this, you know. But you know what it does is it continuously changes the expectation. You know, delivery, you know, do you want to have pizzas flying around your head, you know, as they, you know, like, you know, and they are very noisy things that come here, you know. No, thank you very much. But the idea of this continuously trying something new and integrating very deeply in any way, Alexa, Slack, Messenger, you know, it's I think that's sort of like where we're going. It's this, you're almost like, I mean, there's nothing easier than nothing gets easier than buying a pizza from Domino's anymore. So anyway, so what do I mean by this now, this new branding model? You know, if you look at the first 3 areas, it's about defining an image. In the second area is somehow they use the data from you, the data from your competitors in the case of Domino's, and they use technology in order to brand basically Domino's toward you. Instead of shaping perceptions, you know, creating emotionality, you know, facilitating an interaction. Do you know one of our clients is Vitality. It's an insurance company. Do you know what's the average interaction a consumer has with a health insurance company on a 3-month basis? The average interaction is 1. On average, and that is usually in America, it's called an end of benefits or explanation of benefits, EOB, explanation of benefits statement. And it says in the bottom, this is not a bill. I don't know why they sent me that. You know, the only interaction I have with my health insurance company, something very important to me, health, right, is about a explanation of some cryptic medical terms of the services that I took and for which I don't have to pay, which is part of the things. Crazy. When you look at vitality, the average interaction per month of vitality is 40 times. And I think that Stephen and Andrew will tell you the story behind vitality. It has to do with how that health insurance company manages your health. And that's sort of what I mean by that. Instead of sort of like, we are the better insurance company, we are the lowest cost, we have the better network of physicians, it's about interacting in order to keep you healthy rather than insuring for sickness. Learning through repetition, this is sort of the advertising model. You know, the more you hear, it's the ultimate driving machine, you know, it's the ultimate driving machine. And you see James Bond, you know, why do they have James Bond in a BMW in any way? Kind of like, doesn't fit, right? Anyway, so anyway, learning through repetition, you believe finally that that ultimate driving machine is from BMW. Learning through action, you know. I mean, you really, you know, Domino's pizza isn't any special pizza, but you have just fun ordering it. You know, you just sort of like, I need to try this out. It's like so funny. You know, I'm going to order, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to order my neighbor drone pizzas because he's going to hate it. I mean, come on, why not? So learning through action. It's very dynamic. It's constantly changing. You discover constantly something. You're like, hey, those guys in Michigan are so crazy. You know, I talked to the CEO of Domino's Pizza. I said, so tell me about how do you build a company? He says, like, you know, look at, we are 800 people, he says, headquarters. Do you know how 400 people of those 800 people, 400 of the people are data, technology, and analytics people. I go like, what? And who is sort of tasting the pizza? I like, forget that. You know, we have consumer do that. Anyway, so instead of being a recipient of a message over and over and over again, you know, I can stand the commercial. Oh my God, they're also doing this now. I hate it. You know, you go in the subway. Oh shit, I see there. Oh my God, now TV. I had to go through, you know, those 60 seconds of commercials and being actual participant. You know, like I participate. They learn a hell lot of me. I almost said the F word. They learn a hell lot of me. You know, of how I pizza, where I pizza, when I eat pizza and whatever, and they do that for marketing purposes. I'm the contributor. So here are my 4 major guidelines. You know, what two of the industries that are in biggest trouble right now, you know, one is automotive and one is CPG, consumer goods. Do you know why? Because traditionally those 2 companies have never had a direct connection with consumers. They all, you know, you sell through dealers. BMW sells through the dealer, and once it's at the dealer, the BMW guys say, thank you very much. You know, the rest is it. Once you buy the car, you know, you have no relationship with the manufacturer anymore. You have only a relationship with service and parts and whatever you need. That's broken. I think any company, any consumer company, actually any company needs to have a direct connection with consumer. Nike is a good example. They missed the boat for several years. Now they go direct to consumer. So long overdue. Even Nike. You know, Nike says, okay, I sell shoes to Foot Locker. I sell shoes to the retailer. No, you got to have a direct connection. It's sort of like this immediacy, that feedback, this constant sort of dialogue, I think is very important. Make consumers participants in the value creation. Literally, you know, invite them in, have them use their data, not in order sort of like to publish your NPS numbers, but in order to help them sort of improve the product, better connect with consumers. That's sort of my second major point. You know, that's really, really huge. You know, think of it, Netflix is the most important one, the most valuable company there in terms of appreciation. I mean, every time I'm going to watch, you know, something. Every time I watch a movie, I am basically contributing to the Netflix product. I actually create value for Netflix because they learn what is the movie that people like me would watch and the preferences. And from those preferences, they go now into content. You know, what's the old movie business? Disney makes a movie, it's some are blockbusters, some are massive failures, and it's sort of a gamble. Netflix turns it around. They say, we look at the preferences, we know that they like to watch, the House of Cards because of this and because of this, and then we produce movies according to what the consumers want. So branding becomes almost a means to creating the product itself. Build interactions beyond the portfolio. When you think about it, the classic way of thinking about branding is about, I have a portfolio, I have a lineup of cars at Hyundai from the economy all the way to premium luxury. And then I brand my portfolio. When you think about the new world of branding, you don't think about branding your portfolio. You brand everything around it. Netflix doesn't brand just Netflix. They brand everything else that they offer. Amazon doesn't brand Amazon. They brand everything else. So I think that there is a flexibility of a constant evolution of a brand architecture portfolio, and we need to think how we brand outside. How do you think about this? How do you measure a brand? The brand equity. In the old days, you measure 20 attributes, compare them to competitors, and ask yourself, where is my point of difference and where is my point of parity relative to a set of competitors? It's basically image. If you really want to think about a new brand building model, you would say, what kind of interactions do we create? What kind of meaning does an interaction have? How many interactions? Vitality, 40 interactions. I mean, I have a real relationship when I have 40 interactions versus if I have one interaction every 3 months. And that is something that I think drives the branding. Create a virtuous cycle leading to commerce. How many of you know GoPro? GoPro. It's the coolest camera, you have to say. I mean, look, this is a camera that survives that's a $1 billion company, that is a several $1 billion company, made insanely rich, the founder. Goodson is his name, Nick Goodman. And it keeps going, it keeps going. It's a huge success story still, despite the fact that we all have cameras already, very perfectly good cameras on our mobile phones. And how do they do that? When you buy a GoPro camera and you go and you surf and you make a picture, let's imagine, 6 o'clock in the morning, you go out in the waves, you put these perfect shots there, right? Me, imagine, by 8 o'clock I go back to the shore, I go into the shack. The shack has if it has Wi-Fi, automatically takes that camera, takes the content from your camera, automatically uploads it to GoPro, the GoPro site. It allows you to flip through while you get your coffee in the morning at 8 o'clock. It allows you to click the best shots in 15-second intervals, allows you to identify the best shots. You just, while you have your coffee, you press the button and it uploads on all the social networks. And guess what? It says everything that you upload, every video, it says, cool dude Eric. It's a stretch, yeah, at my age. But anyway, you can imagine, there are some photoshopping opportunities as well in there. And of course, a GoPro watermark. And it goes around my entire social network. Guess what happens? I'm in California, we have an office in LA. These guys here in New York come 3 hours later, watch this. Somebody watches my video, says, damn, Eric, look at this. What a cool shot. It's time to do the serving. Guess what? How did he do that? Well, it's a GoPro. That person goes into the store, says, I need to get a GoPro things, to get a really cool shot. Buys a GoPro, uploads more people, more of his friends, more of his network see those GoPro things. Those friends also go in a store, buy a GoPro. It's like a virtuous cycle of branding, a virtuous cycle of marketing, if you will. All you have to do is sort of like to encourage it and to enable it. You don't buy, so that's what I call by a virtuous cycle leading to commerce. You don't, it's not about, GoPro doesn't say we have the best camera. It's almost like you learn this by action. You see what's happening, and that builds that GoPro business. You know, what's the average, David? What's the average spend per car on average in the car industry in order to sell the car? Like if you have a $30,000 car, what's the percentage on average where the marketing budget goes in a $30,000 car?
Just marketing or marketing and incentives?
Marketing, yeah, and the incentives, those things on the.
Oh, if you include those, then 4,000 or 5,000. So
here we go, $4,000 or $5,000 on a $30,000 car, let's say. So more than 10%, 15%, let's say. When Tesla launched the Model 3, the way they launched it is the CEO wrote a text, actually a post on Twitter, and says, you can now order at a Model 3. 400,000 people signed up within the first week. That's, when you translate it, about $15 billion of cars. That's BMW is about $60 billion. So in 1 week, the Tesla CEO with that tweet sold a quarter of what the BMW sells the entire year in just 1 week. And that's the power of this network, leveraging the network. He obviously has a network. You know, and if you take that 400,000 and you multiply by $4,000, you got a gigantic amount of money. That's how I think how brand building works. I have to stop now. Yes. I promise it was 20 minutes or less. Thank you very much.
I told you it would be long.
These are my 20 minutes.
It used to be part of the chat as well, so thanks very much, Eric.
Yeah. Thank you.